My name is Romero Spates. I am the Director of Residential Services here at Youth for Tomorrow.
Romero, what is special about Youth for Tomorrow in your opinion? We'll talk about your story in a moment, but what's special about this location?
Just the environment that we work in, the kids that we get here and the help that we provide them and, the things that they share with us.
You've been brought up quite a bit with some of our alumni interviews. Tell us your background and some of the jobs you've had since you've been working for Youth for Tomorrow.
My background is pretty much juvenile corrections. I did that for about 10 years. When I found about Youth for Tomorrow, I went online and I applied for the position here as a residential counselor in one of the homes. Went through the process of getting here, and once I got here, man, it was a totally different environment from working in corrections versus a residential setting. Normally in a correctional setting, there's a lot more structure there, so it's either left or right or in between, and that's it. Here, there's more of a therapeutical approach, and for me, I had to learn that because my switch was either this way or that way, and here it's more of a therapeutic approach, and I had to learn that.
More gratifying for you, this approach?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Why so?
More hands-on with the kids. You spend more time with them. They're more receptive, and, instead of just barking orders at somebody, you're actually listening to them when they talk to you, and you're actually trying to help them get better with their treatment.
Kind of taking me in the direction I wanted to go. What are some of the techniques and some of the things you've learned along the way that have helped you in your position here?
Actually, really getting to know the kids by having conversations with them, being in the classrooms with them in a classroom setting, being in the home with them in a house setting, sitting at the table eating dinner together, and, kids just talking about their experiences outside of YFT.
What is it about you that gets you gratification from helping these kids? What about your background? Can you pinpoint why this means so much to you?
I came up hard as a kid myself. I didn't like listening to people. If you told me it was right, I assumed it was wrong because I wanted to do it my way. So I can kind of relate to some of the kids that we get here, especially me growing up in California.
And do you think as you relate to them and they bring that back to you, can you feel that relationship building? Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yes, I do, because there's been times where people would talk to me and sit me down and say, hey, man, you keep going in this direction. This is what's going to happen for you. And for a long time as a young teen, you get that in your head. So many people keep telling you the same thing over and over again. You kind of start to believe it. I tell everybody, God has always had his hand on me. And anytime I started to stray some kind of way, he pulled me back in. We don't always understand his way of doing things because it's not our way. But he's always had his hand on me. And he took me from a lot of bad situations and put me in a lot of positive situations. And he put some things in front of me that I didn't know that was there for me until I was able to see it for myself. And so I get that from a lot of the kids here.
This is certainly a spiritual element to Youth for Tomorrow. What does that mean to you, and how do you pass that on, and how do you kind of try to incorporate that into what you do?
That's funny you say that, man. I don't know how far in depth I can go, but when I was 17 years old, I got stabbed in the back of my neck, and a lot of people didn't think I was gonna make it.
Wow.
I was in the hospital for a very long time. I actually died and came back, and even after that, I was still in the hospital for about 3 or 4 weeks. So, I know God is real because nobody could have did that but him. So for me, I try to instill that in the kids. I kind of share some of my stories with them without going too in depth with them to let them know just because of what they see now does not mean that's how it's going to always be.
You're a former football player, and the kids probably know that. How does that work to your advantage, or does it?
It does work to my advantage because these guys always talk about teamwork and working as a team. But then when they get mad and get frustrated because things aren't going the way that they seem, I said, well, somebody has to step up and be a leader and bring the team together and come up with one goal. And they hear it. They hear it. And sometimes we do team building exercises. I'll take the boys outside. Sometimes we'll play football, or we'll just throw the ball around, or we'll take walks and have discussions, and they get it.
One thing I've heard repeatedly, and we've heard a lot of the alums talk about, one of the great things about this location is the staff. You're part of that group. Who are some of the people that you leaned on early, and who are some of the people who you kind of respect? I know you respect everybody, but you could talk about some of your teammates.
Some of the people that I've worked with in the past, some people have moved on, but Mr. Duncan Jones, me and him talk a lot about different things. I kind of look to him for certain ideas because he's older than me. He's my senior, and he's seen a little bit more than I have. So sometimes I'll lean with him and get ideas from him. Mr. Douglas Davis, He's been here for a while. You know, he's also an athlete at one time, and you know, he kind of came up as a young man, taking care of himself. Dr. Jones, special individual. It's been a long time since I met somebody with a heart like his. You know, Dr. Jones believes in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, eight, nine, 10 chances. You know, but he sees people's hearts. You know, you may look at me and see this exterior, you know, and I may look like this guy that's not that approachable because I don't do a lot of smiling, or maybe it's the way I walk or the way I carry myself. But if you know me, you know my heart. And I know Dr. Jones and I know his heart.
When you see a child graduate from youth for tomorrow and go on, you have to have a feeling of pride, but do you also kind of sad that you're going to miss these kids because you get close to them?
Yeah, you do get close to them. It's been times, man, where I've shed some tears for a lot of the kids, you know, girls, boys, because once they leave here, you know, I feel like my hand is no longer on them. But I do know as young adults, they got to go out in the world and they have to find their way. And I do stay in contact with most of them for the most part, just to check on them and see how they're doing.
If you had the opportunity to give a kid advice that might be headed in the direction of needing to come here, what would you tell a young adult who is having some problems?
Speak up. Let somebody know. Let somebody help you. You know, if you're hearing it in your head that you need to get help, ask somebody. Talk to someone. Let them know. Make them see you.
Finally, when you look at this in hindsight and you say, you know, your life has gone in a lot of different directions. You moved all over the country. What brought you here?
I honestly couldn't tell you, man. I would say it would have to be God. It would have to be, because I was in a whole other state. I wasn't even living in Virginia when I heard about this place. I was actually in Alabama. I did a phone interview. People didn't even see me. One of the directors at the time asked me, he said, "Sir, you're not going to show up here with all kind of piercings in your face with blue hair." I said, "No, that's not me." So I would say it was faith.